"You'll never find anyone better than me, Alina," she said, her voice dripping with the kind of confidence that comes from never being challenged. "Never." I smiled. Not the bitter smile she expected, but something else entirely. "Watch me." Before we embark on this incredible journey together, I have a small, heartfelt request. Please subscribe to my channel, give this video a like, it costs you nothing but means the world to me, and let me know in the comments which beautiful corner of the world you're watching from. Your support truly makes a difference. My name is Alina Chen. I'm 34 years old, and that conversation happened exactly 18 months ago in the marble lobby of the Meridian Building downtown, where my ex-business partner Selena Martinez had just delivered what she thought would be the final blow to my confidence. See, Selena and I had built something beautiful together, a boutique marketing firm called Elevate Creative. For 3 years, we'd been the dynamic duo that small businesses dreamed of hiring. She handled client relations with her magnetic personality, while I crafted the strategies that actually delivered results. We were unstoppable, until the day I discovered she'd been systematically stealing clients behind my back, convincing them that I was holding the company back and that she could deliver better results solo. The divorce, because that's what dissolving a business partnership really feels like, was messy. She'd positioned herself as the face of our company so successfully that when push came to shove, most clients followed her. I kept the office lease, the debt, and a handful of smaller accounts that she deemed not worth her time. Standing in that lobby, watching her smirk as she handed me the final dissolution papers, something crystallized inside me. She'd spent months making me believe I was the lesser half of our partnership, that my quiet, strategic approach was somehow inferior to her flashy presentations and champagne-fueled client dinners. But as I walked away that day, her laughter echoing behind me, I realized something she'd forgotten. I was the one who'd actually built everything she was now claiming as her own. 6 months later, Selena would discover exactly what better looked like. It started with a simple Google search that one of her new clients ran on a Tuesday morning in March. David Thompson, owner of Thompson's Organic Farms, had been working with Selena for 4 months and was growing increasingly frustrated with the lackluster results of his social media campaigns. His organic vegetable delivery service was hemorrhaging money on ads that weren't converting, and Selena kept promising that breakthrough results were just around the corner. David's search was basic: best marketing strategists, organic food industry. What he found was a case study I'd published on LinkedIn about increasing organic food sales by 340% using community-focused micro-targeting strategies. The case study featured real numbers, real timelines, and real screenshots of analytics dashboards. At the bottom, in small print, strategy developed and executed by Alina Chen, founder of Phoenix Strategic. Phoenix Strategic, the company I'd built from the ashes of Elevate Creative, working 16-hour days from my converted garage office, surviving on instant coffee and the quiet determination that comes from having everything to prove. David called me that same afternoon. "Ms. Chen, I read your organic foods case study. Could we talk?" The conversation was supposed to last 15 minutes. It stretched to 90. By the end, David had fired Selena and hired me to completely rebuild his marketing strategy. He also mentioned something that made my coffee taste sweeter. "You know, Selena Martinez told me she was the brains behind all the successful campaigns at Elevate Creative, but after reading your work, well, let's just say the writing styles don't match." That evening, I sat in my garage office, surrounded by whiteboards covered in David's new campaign strategy, and allowed myself one small smile. This wasn't about revenge, it was about truth. And truth, as I was learning, had a way of surfacing when you stopped trying to bury it. But David Thompson was just the beginning. The domino effect started exactly 3 weeks after David's call. Jennifer Walsh, owner of Walsh Wellness Studio, had been one of Selena's prize clients, a high-end yoga and meditation studio that catered to the city's professional elite. Selena had pitched Jennifer an elaborate social media strategy involving influencer partnerships and premium content creation. The budget was substantial, $8,000 monthly for 6 months. 3 months in, Jennifer's ROI was negative 40%. Her studio was busier than ever, but somehow her profit margins were shrinking. The influencer partnerships Selena had arranged were bringing in curious browsers, not committed members. The premium content was gorgeous, but wasn't converting visitors into paying customers. Jennifer discovered me through David Thompson. They'd met at a Chamber of Commerce breakfast where David couldn't stop talking about his 200% increase in customer retention. "It's this strategist, Alina Chen," he'd said. "She actually understands the psychology behind why people buy organic food. Not just pretty pictures, real behavioral science." When Jennifer called, her first question caught me off guard. "Alina, be honest with me. Did you really work with Selena Martinez, or was she taking credit for your work?" I paused, choosing my words carefully. "What makes you ask that?" "Because the strategy David described, the community psychology approach, the micro-targeting based on lifestyle values, it's exactly what I asked Selena for. She said it was too complicated, that influencer marketing was more reliable, but now I'm wondering if she simply couldn't deliver what you could." I spent 2 hours auditing Jennifer's current campaigns. The problems were glaringly obvious. Selena had applied a generic lifestyle brand strategy to a business that needed community building. She was targeting women interested in fitness instead of professionals seeking stress relief and work-life balance. The messaging focused on the studio's amenities rather than the transformation clients could experience. "Jennifer," I said finally, "your business doesn't need more traffic. It needs the right traffic. And the right traffic comes from understanding that your clients aren't buying yoga classes. They're buying peace of mind." Within 24 hours, Jennifer had terminated her contract with Selena. The conversation, she later told me, was memorable. Selena's response was, "You'll never find anyone who understands high-end branding like I do." I said, "Actually, I already have." By May, I had 3 of Selena's former clients, and each transition followed the same pattern. A business owner who'd been promised flashy results but received generic strategies, eventually discovering that the real expertise had been sitting in a garage office across town all along. Selena had no idea what was happening yet. The awakening came on a Thursday morning in June, delivered via a forwarded email. Marcus Rivera, owner of Rivera Architecture, had been Selena's flagship client, the success story she led with in every pitch meeting. His firm specialized in sustainable commercial buildings, and under Selena's guidance, his social media presence had grown to 15,000 followers. She'd featured his projects in glossy Instagram posts and arranged several architecture podcast appearances. But Marcus had a problem. Followers weren't translating to contracts. Despite his growing online presence, his actual business had plateaued. After 18 months with Selena, he was questioning whether social media marketing was worth the investment. Then David Thompson referred him to me. Our first meeting was at Marcus's office, a converted warehouse space filled with architectural models and natural light. He showed me Selena's campaigns, beautiful content, impressive engagement numbers, but something felt off. "Marcus," I said, studying the analytics, "your followers are 60% other architects and design students. Selena's been marketing you to your competitors, not your customers." His face went pale. "What do you mean?" "Sustainable architecture firms don't get hired by other architects. They get hired by developers, city planners, and business owners who need buildings. But look at your audience demographics. You're essentially running an architectural inspiration account, not a business development tool." I spent the next hour explaining how we could pivot his content to target decision-makers in commercial development, how to create content that showcased ROI rather than aesthetics, and how to build relationships with the people who actually sign construction contracts. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Alina, can I ask you something personal? You and Selena used to be partners, right?" "Yes." "She told me you handled the technical stuff while she managed strategy and client relationships. But everything you just explained, this is pure strategy, high-level strategic thinking." I didn't respond immediately. Marcus continued, She positioned you as the support person, but you're not, are you? You were the strategist all along." 3 days later, Marcus sent Selena a termination email. In it, he made a request that would change everything. He asked for copies of all the strategic documents and campaign plans she'd created for his account. "For my records," he wrote. Selena's response, which Marcus forwarded to me, was telling. "I don't typically document strategic processes in written form. My approach is more intuitive and relationship-based." Marcus's reply was simple. "I see. Well, Alina Chen has provided me with a 47-page strategic analysis and implementation plan for mass business. I think that's more what I'm looking for." That forwarded email thread landed in my inbox with a note from Marcus. "Thought you should see this. She can't produce what she claims to have created. Makes me wonder how much of Elevate Creative's success was actually yours." The answer, I was beginning to realize, was most of it. By September, the pattern was undeniable, and Selena finally noticed. It started with a phone call on a rainy Tuesday evening. I was in my garage office reviewing conversion metrics for David's autumn campaign when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Alina," Selena's voice was tight, controlled. "We need to talk." "Hello, Selena. What can I do for you?" "You can stop stealing my clients." I leaned back in my chair, watching raindrops race down the small window. "I haven't stolen anyone, Selena. I've simply been available when business owners needed better results." "Better results?" "I built those relationships. I spent months earning their trust. And you're swooping in like some opportunistic—" "Selena," I interrupted gently, "why do you think they're leaving?" Silence. Then, "Because you're undercutting my prices. My rates are actually 20% higher than what you were charging." Another pause. "Then, because you're making false promises about what you can deliver." "I don't make promises, Selena. I show case studies, documented results, strategic frameworks, the same work I was doing when we were partners, except now my name is on it." The conversation that followed revealed everything I needed to know about how Selena viewed our former partnership. In her mind, she'd been the visionary leader while I'd been the implementer. Good with spreadsheets and analytics, but lacking the big picture thinking that strategy required. "You were always so focused on the technical details," she said. "You never understood the relationship side of the business." Selena, who wrote the strategic briefs for our major accounts? We collaborated. Who developed the targeting frameworks that delivered our best results? It was a team effort. Who stayed late every night for 3 years making sure our strategies actually worked? The silence stretched long enough that I wondered if she'd hung up. Finally, "You think you're so much smarter than everyone else, don't you?" "No," I said. "I just think I'm better at this specific job than you gave me credit for." She hung up without saying goodbye. But 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text. "This isn't over. You'll see what happens when you try to compete without me." I screenshot the message, not because I felt threatened, but because I'd learned that documentation was important. In business, people's memories tend to shift with their convenience. That night, I stayed up late reviewing the client testimonials that had accumulated over the past 6 months. Every single one mentioned the same thing: strategic clarity they'd never experienced before, combined with results that exceeded expectations. Maybe it was time to stop operating from a garage. The confrontation came exactly where it had all started, the marble lobby of the Meridian Building. I was there for a meeting with Sarah Chen, no relation, who managed marketing for a chain of boutique hotels. Word of mouth had reached her through Jennifer Walsh, and she wanted to discuss a comprehensive rebranding strategy. The meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. in the building's business center. At 1:55, I was reviewing my presentation notes when familiar laughter echoed across the lobby. Selena was there with 2 people I recognized, potential clients she'd been courting for months. She saw me immediately, and her expression shifted from surprise to something harder. I focused on my meeting. Sarah Chen turned out to be everything I appreciated in a client: detail-oriented, results-focused, and genuinely interested in understanding strategy rather than just buying services. Our hour-long conversation covered everything from brand positioning to customer journey mapping. As Sarah and I shook hands, she'd hire me to redesign her entire marketing approach. I noticed Selena approaching. Her potential clients had apparently left. "Fancy seeing you here," she said, her smile sharp. "Still working out of that garage?" "Actually, I just signed a lease upstairs. Corner office on the 12th floor." Her smile faltered slightly. "Congratulations. Though I hope you're not overextending yourself. This business can be unpredictable." "It can be, but it's much more predictable when your strategies actually work." Sarah, who'd been listening, spoke up. "Excuse me, are you Selena Martinez?" Selena's face brightened. "Yes. Have we met?" "No, but Jennifer Walsh mentioned you. She said you used to handle her marketing before switching to Alina. She was very illuminating about the differences in approach." The color drained from Selena's face. Sarah continued. "She said working with you taught her exactly what to avoid in a marketing partner. Something about influencer strategies that didn't understand her actual business model." I felt no satisfaction in watching Selena's composure crack. This wasn't about humiliation. It was about the slow, inevitable reveal of competence versus performance. Sarah gathered her things. "Alina, I'll have the contract over to you by Friday. And Selena," she turned back, "I'd recommend being more careful about taking credit for other people's work. Word gets around in business circles." After Sarah left, Selena and I stood in that same lobby where she'd once told me I'd never find anything better. "You planned this," she said quietly. "No, Selena. I just did my job. The same job I was always doing, except now I'm getting credit for it." Her voice was barely audible. "I made you. Without me, you were nothing but a numbers person." I looked at her, really looked, and saw something I'd missed during our partnership. Fear. Fear that she'd never been as necessary as she'd convinced everyone she was. Fear that her real value had always been much smaller than her presence suggested. "You didn't make me, Selena. You just taught me what I was worth." 1 year later, the lesson was complete. I was reviewing quarterly reports in my new office, not the corner space on 12, but an entire floor I'd leased in a converted arts building downtown. Phoenix Strategic had grown to 8 employees, all specialists I'd hired based on actual expertise rather than charisma. My assistant knocked and entered with a familiar expression, the look she got when handling delicate situations. "Alina, there's a Selena Martinez here to see you. No appointment." I found Selena in our reception area, studying the wall of client testimonials and case study summaries. She looked smaller somehow, less commanding than I remembered. Her usual perfect composure had frayed edges. "Alina," she stood as I approached. "Thank you for seeing me." I gestured toward the conference room. "Of course. Coffee?" She shook her head. We sat across from each other at the same glass table where I now conducted strategy sessions with Fortune 500 marketing directors. "I wanted to apologize," she said without preamble, "for how I handled our partnership, for how I positioned your contributions." I waited. "I've been struggling since we dissolved Elevate. Clients keep leaving, and I can't figure out why my strategies aren't working anymore. Then I realized they never were my strategies, were they?" The admission hung between us. Outside, the city hummed with the kind of productive energy I'd learned to channel into sustainable business growth. "Selena, what do you want from this conversation?" She looked down at her hands. "I want to understand how you did it, how you built something better than what we had together, how you proved me so completely wrong." I considered my response carefully. A year ago, I might have felt vindicated by her admission. Now, it just felt sad. "I didn't build something better to prove you wrong," I said finally. "I built something honest. Everything you're seeing, the client results, the team, the growth, it's what happens when strategy and execution align, when people get credit for what they actually contribute." She nodded slowly. "You were always the strategist. I was just the presenter. You were good at relationships, Selena. You could have learned strategy if you'd wanted to, but instead, you decided that taking credit was easier than developing competence. We talked for another 20 minutes. She asked about specific frameworks I'd developed, about how I'd rebuilt client trust, about what it felt like to finally be recognized for the work I'd always been doing. As she prepared to leave, she paused at the door. "Alina, that day in the Meridian lobby when I said you'd never find better than me? I remember. I was wrong, but not the way I thought." She managed a genuine smile for the first time in our conversation. "You didn't find better than me. You found better than the version of yourself you'd accepted. That's actually impressive." After she left, I sat in my office as the afternoon light slanted through windows that belonged to me, in a business built on work that carried my name, surrounded by a team that understood exactly what I brought to the table. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply becoming who you always were, without anyone else's permission. Today, Phoenix Strategic manages marketing strategies for 43 businesses across 6 industries. We've been featured in Business Journal's Fastest Growing Marketing Firms list 2 years running. I speak at marketing conferences about authentic strategy development and sustainable business growth. But the real measure of success isn't in the recognition or revenue. It's in the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth isn't negotiable. It's in building something based on competence rather than performance, substance rather than shine. Selena and I never worked together again, but I occasionally see her name on LinkedIn, running a smaller consultancy focused on personal branding. From what I can tell, she's found her actual niche, helping individuals present themselves professionally. It suits her better than strategy ever did. The clients who left her to work with me are thriving. David Thompson's organic farm has expanded to 3 delivery routes. Jennifer's yoga studio opened a second location. Marcus Rivera won a Sustainable Architecture Award last month. They succeeded not because they left Selena, but because they found a partner whose expertise matched their needs. As for that conversation in the Meridian lobby, "You'll never find better than me," she was right in a way. I didn't find better than her. I discovered something more valuable. I found better than the diminished version of myself I'd accepted while standing in her shadow. The lesson isn't about revenge or proving people wrong. It's about recognizing when someone's opinion of your capabilities says more about their limitations than yours. It's about having the courage to bet on yourself when everyone else has underestimated what you bring to the table. Success isn't about being better than someone else. It's about being authentically, undeniably yourself, and building something that reflects your actual value rather than someone else's perception of it. Subscribe to my channel for more stories about finding your strength, setting your boundaries, and never letting anyone else define what you're capable of achieving. Comment below and tell me, what's the best advice someone ever gave you about knowing your worth? Alina Chen.